All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sang. So I'm making this video to um, share some of my advice that I have. Actually, I'm making this video for my own students, like in my lab that I work with. But I was guessing that this could be useful for some people out there who's doing research. But just to want to make sure that I wanted to make sure that this is not necessarily going to work for everyone or for every discipline. And then this could be somewhat opinionated, but I'm just making it public out there so that people can use it. All right, so today I'm going to talk about Google Scholar, how to search papers in Google Scholar, and then why is it useful and how it should be used. So yeah, let me start that by sharing my screen. Okay, hopefully everyone sees this Google Scholar website. And yeah, well, basically it looks like Google search engine. The difference is that it's going to return search result only from books or academic papers or patents or like certain materials like online materials that are often cited in academic papers or books. So this is mainly for researchers to find relevant literature. So yeah, well, I cannot even imagine how people were able to do research when there was no Google Scholar, honestly. But this is a really useful tool for people to find literature that are relevant to your own research topic. So yeah, let's type some keywords. So like I have actually prepared the keywords. So I'm going to look for tools for task resumption. And I'm specifically interested in retrieving documents, and bear in mind with the typo. Yeah, and then it's going to return all the sort of like a papers or books sometimes and so forth. So yeah, so I could see, and then this is, particularly purple because I clicked it, and this is one of my papers in the past. But you can see in general the title of this paper, and if you click it, you'll be able to see the paper typically. So you have abstract and introduction, so you can actually read the paper. And then it may depend on whether your institution like have access to the subscriber, like publisher or not. So, but if you're not affiliated with any institution, maybe you have to pay it, or maybe if it's a open access article so that you can download it. But in general, you can read the title of the paper and then click it to read more details like abstract or even open the PDF and so forth, right? So yeah, that's how you find papers, and you kind of go through those and try to evaluate whether this is paper that are relevant to your own research topic or not by reading titles. And then maybe even more after you open the website, you can read documents and so forth. So that's really basic, right? But it gives you very, useful information like, who wrote it and then which journal it was published to, when it was published to, and yeah, so that's the basic information. And then like, it highlights the keywords that was included in the search keywords. But there are other important things that I would like to talk about, which is cited by a feature that is really unique. So what is cited by? Basically, this number tells you how many other papers cited this particular paper, and why would we care about it? It is actually, I'm going to draw a diagram. So let's say if we have a paper, so this is like a visual representation of one paper, let's say paper A. And then if you open the paper, you'll be able to see the reference section at the So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically reference sections is the list of papers that are relevant to the paper and that are cited as part of the paper in so the list of papers that are cited. So you can imagine that there are other papers that are relevant, are listed in reference. So let's say you're doing topic X, and then you found really relevant paper to your research topic from Google Scholar. So what's good about it is to actually you can read the paper and then check out the reference section and then you can check out the related work section or discussion section to see if there's any other relevant paper from the paper, right? So from paper A in this case. So this is a really good way to find relevant papers through the one paper that you found. So let's say, hey, like this is paper that I should read, and this is another paper that I should read. So it's kind of like, finding gems from other people's paper. Gem meaning that relevant paper to your own research. So that's good because this paper did a good job in terms of finding relevant work, but it only works, backward, meaning that it can only cite papers that are written before this paper A. However, what if I want to check? Let's say this paper was written like 10 years ago, like 2012, and then you can imagine there could be other relevant paper that you should actually check out after 2012, right? So one good thing about this Google Scholar is going to tell you, hey, like these are the paper that cite this paper. So you can kind of see this sort of like a network graph where, hey, paper A cite these set of paper, but there are other papers that are published, obviously, after 2012, cite this particular paper, which is likely that is relevant to your work, right? Because the paper A is relevant to your work, and then other papers that cite your paper A has a high chance that it's relevant to your work as well. So, what you're going to do is to see this list and then check the title and then check the abstract maybe, and then say that, hey, these are the papers that I want to read. And then you can kind of check the forward, scan forwards from this particular point in time related to this particular paper A. So yeah, I mean, by the time, that the author of paper A wrote this paper, they would have not been able to know all the relevant work that will happen in the past. So that will not be obviously available in reference, but Google Scholar is going to give you this this list, and the number of this paper is actually the number that we saw in the cited by. So let's go back to the Google Scholar. So yeah, here you can see this particular paper is cited 116. It was published in 2011, which means that it was about like 11 years old paper. So that's pretty good. And this particular paper, like one of my own paper, is published in 2020, and it was cited by 3 other papers so far. So given that it's recent, so you can understand it why it's lower. The other paper here is cited by 190 other papers, and here you can kind of click this thing and then see all the papers that cite this particular paper. So you can kind of see, hey, there are other more other papers that are cited even more than the original, the search bar paper, for example, which so this number kind of tell you it's not exactly well, it's not necessarily be the quality of the paper, but it's it's a good proxy of how impactful the paper was to the community. So like this paper is like, cited nearly 1,000 times, which is pretty good, like, for the time. So yeah, you can kind of see that, hey, these are the papers that I should read. And then if you go all the way to the end, you can kind of see, hey, there are more, either recent paper or it is like from 2008, but then it was cited only 3 times, which kind of means that, hey, I'm not saying that this is wrong, like, poor paper at all. Like, it could be a really good paper, but then it was not cited too often to other people. So yeah, that's basically how you can utilize Google Scholar to find paper that are relevant to a particular research topic. And then one particular feature that I wanted to explain was this cited by and then the citation number. So yeah, well, that's all I have today. I didn't want to make a too long video, and then I'll have a different opportunity to talk about other stuff like Google Scholar profile, and then why we need to care about literature review and so forth. All right. That's all for today, and thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you later. Bye.